Hello, my name is Garrett Keane, and in this video I'm going to run through a simulation, a Telemac model of the Shannon estuary. I'm going to show you how it's actually run and how to actually run the model. First of all, I have the files that are needed in this directory called Shannon K. If I click in here, you see that it just needs 4 files to actually run the Telemac simulation. The first file I look at is called shannonk.go. What this actually is the file that contains the information for the mesh for the simulation. If I click here on the Blue Canoe package, we'll actually see that the actual mesh that's stored in this file. If you look at it here, you have a series of triangular elements and they have a depth assigned to them. So you can see here at the open sea, this is the Atlantic Ocean. The northern side here of the boundary is the county of Clare, the southern side is the county of Kerry, and over here on the right hand side is Limerick. You can see here the blue represents the deepest water, the red represents the shallower areas at the coastal regions. The way this model actually runs is all the coast around here is considered as a solid boundary and no flow can go across it, and it's only in this line along here, the open boundary that represents the Atlantic Ocean, that a tide, the same tide, is applied at all points along the boundary. And if I look at the model here, that tide is stored in this file here called shannonk.prn. I have it open down here if I look at it, and it basically just has 2 columns in it. First column is time, second column is the elevation of the tide. And it basically has it at every 10 seconds. I plotted this in Excel, so if we look at it in Excel, you see that the tide varies from a high or spring tide at the beginning of the month. This represents a lunar month or 28-30 days. And basically you have a high tide here and it comes down to a neap tide, and then you have a second spring tide and it comes back down to a neap tide, and so on. So that's a typical tidal variation in a month. So this is applied at the open boundary, and that basically drives the flow in and out of the estuary. The other file that's needed, if you look at the open boundary here, if I turn off the mesh, the open boundary is represented by this line here, the closed boundary that defines the model domain is defined by these line here. It's a continuous line, and basically there's a series of nodes along here. And the third file that's in the directory basically specifies what type of boundary each of these nodes actually is. If I come back and look at it here, I'll close that down there and save that. If we come here and look at I'll have to return to this in a minute, control F10.